Hello, my name is Dr. Dwayne Smith, and I am the CEO of Housatonic Community College, located in Bridgeport, Connecticut. And I am excited, I am ecstatic about this podcast that I am having to share with you, which is called The Journey, Stories of Triumph. And in these podcasts, we will talk with different types of individuals from all walks of life. But the main thing is that they have a story, and that story is of a triumph. And so I hope that you will join us. I look forward to seeing you. I am so pleased to introduce my guest here, Rebecca Rodriguez, who is the Director of Recruitment and International Affairs at Housatonic Community College. And I would say that Rebecca is, you think about like the hardest working woman in show business. She is the hardest working woman at Housatonic, and she has such an incredible background, and she has an inspirational story. But she is homegrown from Bridgeport, and she graduated from Multicultural Magnet School, Central Magnet High School, the University of Connecticut, and the University of Bridgeport. She has so many degrees behind her, but she is a humble woman who's gone through a whole lot, and I think, again, you'll be inspired by her story. So we're so fortunate to have you here, Rebecca.
Thank you very much, Dr. Smith. Happy to be here.
That's great. That's great. So why don't we start off by getting to know you. So tell us about your background.
Sure. So I have been serving at Housatonic for about 7 years now. I've been working in higher ed for about 13 years. I love serving my community. So as you mentioned, I'm born and raised here in Bridgeport. A little bit about kind of where I come from. I am second generation American. My mother immigrated from Costa Rica in Central America here. And I'm my mom's only child.
Okay.
And growing up in a single mother household was quite the experience. She was very hardworking and very driven, and I learned a lot from her. And so that kind of inspired me in my journey, as I myself had a lot of obstacles to overcome.
So talk about your school experiences in Bridgeport and then higher education.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So thank you for that, Dr. Smith. Having been born and raised here in Bridgeport, I went to Multicultural Magnet School, where I did my kindergarten through 8th grade as a student in their English as a second language program. Spanish was my first language, and so the ELL program helped me be able to navigate both languages. And that really was helpful to me as I transitioned into high school. In fact, I went to 4 different high schools.
4 different high schools?
Yes, I did.
Okay, what's up with that?
I'm always hesitant to say 4 different high schools, because usually people say, oh, you were that kid, like you were that bad kid. Yeah. But that wasn't the case. I was the best kid that just made one decision that just changed my life forever. And
we're going to talk about that one. But at the end of your journey, you have 2 college degrees.
That's right.
So I was 4 high schools to a college degree. You did something right.
I did something right. So I graduated high school right on time, and I went to the UConn Stanford campus, where I made sure, despite some obstacles I had, to graduate in 4 years. And my experience, having gone to UConn Stanford, taught me that there was a really big need for more Latino representation in post-secondary education. Mm-hmm. And so I decided to get my master's degree in counseling and college student personnel, and seek opportunities to help serve my community in accessing post-secondary education.
Very good. So let's go back to the one thing that happened in high school.
Yeah, in high school.
So talk about that.
Okay. So my sophomore year of high school, I found out I was going to be a mom. Mm-hmm. And so in that moment, I realized, okay, my life is about to change forever. The plans that I had in store were still there. I was just going to have to reroute and take a different path to get to where I needed to be. And so that meant leaving high school, which was where all my friends were, and going to a program that Bridgeport had during that time called Center for Interim Education, where I was with other young moms that were pregnant as well. it ranged between the ages of 14 and 19, but we were all there for the same reason, and it was to stay on track. After finishing my sophomore year at that school, I went to Bassick High School. Bassick High School had a daycare, so I could bring my baby to school with me every day.
Yeah.
And after Bassick High School, I realized that it would be helpful to me if I attended Park City Alternative High School and finished the rest of my high school program there. And I got to graduate with whatever high school was in my district. So although my last year of high school was at Park City, I got a central high school diploma.
But you did all that in still 4 years.
Oh yeah, I made sure I finished on time.
So you make it seem so like ordinary, but it's extraordinary. So talk. I mean, there are teenagers that are still dealing with pregnancy, and they think, you didn't say my life is over. You just said almost like I had to just take a different route
That's right.
to get my destination. So kind of talk about, if you can go back, that time period and how you felt, and then maybe what type of support did you get to move forward?
I wasn't scared to ask for help, right? There were so many resources that were available to me within the Bridgeport Public School system, but also in my community. And one of the organizations that worked very closely with me, connecting me to resources and helping me to navigate this journey, was the Child and Family Guidance Center of Bridgeport. So I really encourage other young moms that are in a similar place to where I was once, not to be scared to ask for help, because there's so many resources that can help connect you to daycare, transportation resources, anything that can help you overcome some of those.
So principle number one, don't be afraid to ask for help.
That's right.
The incredible part about it is, one, that you were able to go through high school and then you just continued. So you went to UConn.
Yep. I didn't know what opportunities were out there for me. In fact, when I graduated from high school, I thought, okay, what will next steps look like for me? And so the principal at Park City Alternative High School said, Rebecca, I have a vision for you, and I envision you at UConn Stanford. And I didn't know that UConn had a Stanford campus, and so it just worked out. He gave me a scholarship, and I was able to go to UConn, and so he saw something in me that I knew I saw in myself, but it took for him to really just share with me, and off I went.
And so here's a second principle, having a vision. And so I believe you had a vision, but someone else kind of instilled that you can go further and faster, so that's a great thing. So I'm going to pivot just a little bit, and we're going to get to this. So I met your son at a program, and he's such a remarkable scholar. We're going to come back to your story, but, as a mom, you've done this incredible parenting. Talk about your son.
William is now 20 years old. He is a senior at the University of Connecticut also. He'll be graduating a year early with his bachelor's degree in marketing. And he makes me so proud. He's a young entrepreneur. He has done a lot of service for our community, which included spending summers with the Sheen Center right down the street from our campus. But he says, Mom, I do what I do because I saw you at a very young age, like with, your books and studying and, working. And he's like, you've motivated me. And that's why he's been so hard at work accomplishing his goals.
And he's very impressive.
Yeah, he's a
very
impressive young man.
So you beat the odds. Basically, a teenage female is least likely to complete her studies if she's pregnant as a teenager. But then the outgrowth of that is that her children or her child has least likely a chance of going further. So what you've done, you said, I was a teenage mother, I was encouraged, inspired, had a village, and not only did I finish high school in 4 years, right? But you went off to college and your son went to college, is going to graduate a year early.
That's right.
Wow.
Thank you.
So how do you unpack that? Because people will say, "Oh, that's that woman's story. I can't do that. You know, I don't have the support. You know, what advice would you give? What would be your third principle if you were to offer advice to a teenager who, or any person that is dealing with some type of situation they think is a setback and they can never move forward? What advice would you give them? Principle number 3.
I think that for me personally, one of the lessons that I learned was that every time I fell, I picked myself up and I tried again. Having gone to several different high schools definitely underprepared me for the rigor of higher education. And in my first semester of college, I failed miserably. And I thought, is this for me? What do I do? And I realized, well, it is for me. I just have to try again, because it's not just my life that depends on it, it's my son's future.
That's right.
And so thank goodness for repeat forgiveness,
okay.
where I repeated those courses. And I learned from that first semester where I did so terribly, and I said, okay, let me go back and pull the assignments and see what feedback I got and how can I access resources this time around to make sure that the experience was different for me. So I tried again. And, you know, I think that after overcoming so many different times where I felt that I'd been tested, I figured, hey, if I don't believe in myself, who and what am I believing in, right? So I guess that third principle, Dr. Smith, is to just, when you fall down, just pick yourself up and try again.
That's what I was going to say. Yes, pick yourself up. And you've done an incredible job at that. So we're so pleased to have you as one of our own at Housatonic, inspiring our scholars to go to greater heights. And so as we kind of come to a close, I have a kind of my last question. You're so passionate about helping others, and you kind of talked about your triumph over your obstacle, but just talk about again your whole passion about helping the community. And you talked about a little bit about at UConn how you were able to kind of see that there needs to be more support for Latino students. Talk about that, please.
Yes. You know, during my college experience, I realized that there weren't too many people on campus that could relate to me, that looked like me, that had a journey like mine. And I thought, well, how many other young parents are in college that could use the support that I once needed when I was in college trying to figure it out on my own? And I knew that if I went into post-secondary education having this lens that I've looked out through, that I could make a difference in the lives of other students that maybe fell their first semester and didn't think that they could pick themselves up again. And so it was just really important to me to represent and really just make a difference in the lives of young parents. In fact, when I got my master's degree, I wrote my thesis on helping first-generation college student mothers achieve academic success.
Wow, yeah.
And so for me, that really did drive me to want to help serve this population in particular.
Wow, that's so incredible. And so I see a book in the future, right? Not only your dissertation, but your journey and your story. And so this is all about stories of triumph. And certainly you have a story that is so powerful and so positive that we need to let the world know that you can get yourself back up, no matter what you've gone through.
Thank you.
So thank you for joining us on this podcast. Until next time.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining me on my podcast, The Journey, Stories of Triumph. And please follow me on my social links, which will be in the description below. Until next time.